Jamari, you co-sign this nonsense? You think this is fly? You think this is a vibe? L take on your part, Jamari. Let's pull back the actual podcast and look at what actually transpired that conveniently everyone leaves out. If this was anybody else, if this wasn't a Christian heterosexual male, would this not be considered assault? Oh, Bobby Lee, the funny guy. Oh, George Janko, the corny Christian who couldn't take a joke. No one's considering that what he's going to do next to George Janko could potentially cross the line of what is and isn't legally allowed in a situation like this. Am I the only one that thought this?
Ruslan.
So there's a creator that I enjoy by the name of Jamari. And Jamari, at this point, has made multiple videos to, at least two more. When I say multiple, I'm kind of like being hyperbolic with it. Has made 2 videos about George Janko and the Bobby Lee debacle. Now, if you guys don't know, George Janko, he professes to be a Christian and a follower of Jesus. I've covered him on the channel before. George Janko is on Logan Paul's podcast. He's, in my opinion, a pretty refreshing voice on the podcast because a lot of times they're just like goofing off and he's kind of like the voice of reason. So, long story short, the creator YouTube channel, Jamari, made a video about George Janko. It's the second one. And both times, he's kind of dunking on him. Like he's really going hard at George Janko. And I think George Janko is a good guy. Now, I wouldn't have walked off the podcast. I'm going to play some of Jamari's video. And then I'm going to reveal something that happened in the conversation way earlier that I think may have influenced George Janko to walk out in the Bobby Lee ongoing saga. Okay, so he's apologized to him, yada, yada, yada. So just bear with me for that. Now, he's apologized for this, and I don't know what Jamari wants. Like, you clown him for walking off and not knowing how to take a joke, which, in my opinion, it was out of line, some of the stuff Bobby Lee did. But then you make a second video after he apologized. It's like you're poking for no reason. Like he's trying to make it right by your own standards, and you're continuing to post, which I think kind of a L take by Jamari. So let's watch this video. Okay, check
this out. A couple weeks back, we talked about this wannabe comedian named George Janko.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Explicit, explicit, explicit.
Keeps calling him a wannabe comedian. Now, as far as I know, George Janko is putting some reps. He's out here at the Improv. He's out here doing stuff. Like he's not like I'm a wannabe comedian. Like I want to be a comedian someday. It's probably not in the cards for me. But like George Janko is actually doing stand-up. Like he's actually out here, doing things, right?
Don't get me wrong. On the inside, a lot of these comedians are deeply insecure and even offbeat. But on the outside, especially when faced with another well-respected comedian, they better get ready for a bit of a roast battle. Especially when they are in a setting where they are trying to entertain an audience. And for those of you that missed the last video, basically veteran comedian Bobby Lee came on Logan's podcast and made George have a meltdown over a couple of innocent jokes at his expense.
Bro, let me just say something. I'm warning you right now. Don't fucking touch me.
Okay.
I'm a fucking celebrity. Bro, look at my MDB. Anyone can, you can touch me. Is that your girlfriend? It's so weird. Without fame, you wouldn't get that.
And as you guys know now, this eventually led to George walking off the podcast mid-show and taking an Uber home while crying and thinking about his life.
Now, I don't think George Janko should have walked off this pod. I think that was kind of a whack move. But there's some things being omitted here by Jamari and needing to double down. Because George Janko is low-hanging fruit. He's easy to make fun of. He's a Christian, yada, yada, yada. I think it's corny in some of the stuff that's being omitted here, and we're going to get to it.
The Beatles could have lost Ringo.
Oh, yeah.
To me, this is one of the softest things I've ever seen. Bobby wasn't even going that hard at this man at all, and if George had done even the slightest amount of research, he would know this is almost always how this guy shows love. He's constantly roasting the shit out of his friends and contemporaries. It's honestly what makes him funny is that he never takes any moment too seriously.
You're good looking and ugly at the same time. Right? At certain angles, like, he could be good looking, and at certain angles, you're like, no, he's ugly. And your body, though, is it's like a buff pinto bean.
The other big thing is that all George really had to do was roast him back, because Bobby has some very public, easy material against him right now. I mean, he's still doing this show with his ex-girlfriend who is constantly embarrassing the shit out of him.
I don't know why he didn't roast back. I don't know why that was off the limits. I don't know if he went in there and said, you can't talk about this. This man's doing a show with his ex-girlfriend who at one point they had an open relationship with. Talk about an L. Okay? Bobby Lee, not the... So I don't know why George didn't poke back. I don't know if he just respected him or what. But I definitely would have pressed him about all this stuff if I was in a similar situation.
Inspired. It was a big deal online. And so George responded in a very passive-aggressive apology to the audience.
I can't apologize the fact that, like, when I'm watching these kids comment what they're commenting, in my mind, I'm like, ooh, I'm in your head.
Oh, no.
You gotta heal. It gave me a superpower, bro. It made me realize, like, oh, I really don't care. Before I would say I don't care, and now I'm watching, I'm like, ooh, I do care. I want it. I want to be in their heads more. Like, I like it.
And now Logan came to be on Bobby's podcast, Tiger Belly, and we, the audience, discovered that George never even apologized to Bobby.
What happened with George?
Yeah, this is what I want to get to the bottom line. So I want to say something. Number one, he hasn't reached out to me. Told
him to. I told him to. He didn't.
Number one, I don't even know what the fuck I did. And number two, why did he leave?
Logan from
I know what you did, Bobby. I know what you did, you goober. Okay, we're gonna get there. You may not know I make music, but I got a new song coming out. And it's something I need you to do, but first, I want you to hear a snippet of the song.
I went from being a porn addict to sharing the gospel with a porn actress who was criticized for being low status by the same OnlyFans who treat us so lavish. I'm confused.
I swear y'all thought he did doing podcasts, hot takes. He still can rap.
Now, in order to get this song to the top of Spotify, I need your help. I need you to click the link below or go to RuslanToTheMoon.com and pre-save this song. What is a pre-save? It means that this song will be added to your library to remind you to listen to it the day it comes out. And it also tells Spotify's algorithm that millions of people need to hear this song. So help me promote Christian music that contextualizes the gospel and will help change lives by going to RuslanToTheMoon.com or clicking the link below.
Oh, they got me with their dramatics. You knew that a moment cannot be static too soon.
immediately took Bobby's side when it came to this dispute over who was wrong.
Bobby, it was his fault.
Is he like a softie of the show?
Yes. But that's why he's on the show. That's why he's on the show.
Right,
You don't know that. You don't know that. That's why he's there.
It's funny that the reason he says George is actually on the show is to be soft and sensitive, rather than to be the comedian providing funny moments. In reality, he's really just there to interject with religious questions that make guests uncomfortable. The other thing is that everyone was getting roasted during that.
He's there just to interject with religious questions to make guests uncomfortable. Jamari, you are showing your bias here, my guy. That is such a low-hanging fruit as just a complete weak point to make, oh, he's a Christian. He's making jokes about interjecting with Christian. He doesn't have his prerogative to do that? Come on, bro.
Podcast and taking it in stride. It's not like George was being singled out until he made himself such an easy target.
I thought it was funny. He was in jest, and you're with the comedian. You got to be willing to go from A to B to C.
And then Bobby continues to talk about how weak of a move this was for George to walk out mid-podcast.
Guys, on the episode of Impaulsive that's coming out tomorrow, he was.
That's interesting.
He was
never really apologized to me, though.
Which
That's
shocks me because I told him to reach out. I said, you should reach out to Bobby.
This is when they decide to FaceTime George live because he could never even man up and apologize to the guests for fucking up their show. That's how you know sensitive George still feels slighted about this whole experience. Either way, Logan calls him, puts Bobby on the phone, and from there, we get this apology that rivals the Liver King.
I want to apologize for my behavior on your podcast. I feel like I was a little...
Bobby Lee, you shut your mouth. I'm apologizing to you. I left you. You were our guest. And I left you, Bobby. I will forever regret that for the rest of my fucking life. There's not a day.
So George Janko apologizes to him again. He apologized to him on the pod. He apologized to him again. I don't understand what Jamari's doing here. What's the need to poke? What are we doing? Why do we need to continue poking the goofy, non-funny Christian guy?
I will lay my head on that pillow and not know that I disappointed a prince that does stand up like you. Do you have any idea how ashamed of myself I am?
Wow. Oh my God. But because I too, because I literally did not feel sorry.
I swear, Bobby Lee is too fucking hilarious. The fact that he took back his apology is amazing because he really didn't do a damn thing to sensitive George. And it was also a great way to break the ice, disarm George's feelings, and not have to demand an apology outright. But don't you guys get it twisted. He's still out here roasting his ass.
And let's have a relationship where we can rip on each other.
Overall, I would say this whole interaction was a W for everyone involved. Bobby clearly felt bad for making him walk, and in his own way told him it's all gonna be okay. As for George, I hope he learned a valuable lesson here to come to the podcast much more prepared, and to leave his ego as well as his emotions at the door. Maybe this will be a turning point for this theater kid turned wannabe funny man. Either way, y'all let me know what you guys think about this.
So I think there's one side of this that's like, yeah, that was whack for him to walk out. Now, let's pull back the actual podcast and look at what actually transpired that conveniently everyone leaves out. Okay. Now maybe I'm just a different kind of person. Okay. There's some stuff that happened in this podcast that I found
Dude, this is
rather alarming. And there were parts in this podcast where Bobby Lee's own people are off camera nervous about what's transpiring on camera. Anybody that goes and watches the full, which is, by the way, very difficult to listen through. I think Bobby Lee is funny, but he's not that funny. Like, you're giving this man a lot of clout and just stroking this man's ego. Let's watch this little part and tell me if this is how men should interact with other men, and if this is funny. Because I think this toes the line, and I think Bobby's own people were on set thinking this toes the line. This is at about the 13-minute mark, 13-minute, 57-second mark of the pod. And the timestamp here says, George smells Bobby's junk.
I don't smell good on my bottom because here's the thing is I'm single now and I've been fucking. You want to smell my dick?
One of us in this room.
What, bro? What are we talking about? And these goobers put their hands up.
Smell my dick because I have no cologne here, but I spray the fuck on my dick.
Why?
What are we doing, Bobby Lee? Jamari, you co-sign this nonsense? You think this is fly? You think this is a vibe? You think this is funny? Bobby Lee is so funny. Bro, come on.
Hey, Mike,
fam.
you want to smell?
I would.
No, you are. No, you are.
No question.
I'm not gonna pull it out. I'm gonna just do the underwear.
Question.
It would be him. It would be George.
Yeah, George.
It would.
Yeah.
George is the only one that didn't raise his hand. George is the only one that did not raise his hand.
Just smell.
No. You can't spray your dick with cologne. You got to go under to the gooch, and everyone knows that.
He's got an answer.
No, I have an answer. But I spray it just in case. Like if I'm walking down Melrose, right? And then what I would do is this. I would go to the bathroom. I would take tissue, and I would wipe the head and the stem of my penis. It's not a lot.
Is that what you use the word stem?
Yes. Yeah.
Is this your king? This is the comedy god. This guy. This is funny.
Like a fledgling.
What cologne? Like what?
Well, that's why I wanted to smell.
Or maybe he'll know the smell too.
So don't worry about it, guys. I'm not gonna show my dick. Okay?
Smell his dick.
Oh shit! His ass is out.
This man's exposing his behind. And George Janko is the weirdo here. George Janko is the weirdo guy that is soft because he walked out. This is the same guy who's pulling down his pants. They have to cover up his buttocks. And the only guy that didn't raise his hands, George Janko, is asked to smell his penis. Is it me or is this bordering essay? I'm not sure. In all of the wokeosphere, we're going to be progressive and all this nonsense. No one's considering that what he's going to do next to George Janko could potentially cross the line of what is and isn't legally allowed in a situation like this. Am I the only one that thought this?
No, smell. You gotta smell it.
I just wafted it,
Dude.
Just
Dude, this is not gay.
Look how uncomfortable George Janko looks in this. Look how uncomfortable this man looks in this. Look at this. Look at the smile. You know how you can tell it's not a fake smile? Because it's not in his eyes. That's how you can tell somebody has a fake smile and they're just kind of going with it. Because, right?
Podcasting, it's for entertainment.
It's material.
And in improv, you never disagree. You always agree. Because yes and you ruin the fucking moment if you don't do it. So you're gonna fucking smell my dick, and it's not gay.
It's material, George.
Yeah. So here. I have to grab your head.
No.
I have to grab your head. This man Bobby is escalating this and escalating this and escalating this. And then we're puzzled why George Janko walked out? Really? No one thought to connect this? Jamari, you didn't think to watch the entire podcast to connect this? Oh, Bobby Lee, the funny guy. Oh, George Janko, the corny Christian who couldn't take a joke. You would sit through this man putting his... Come on, bro.
That's goofy.
To co-sign this nonsense.
It smells good. It smells good. Don't smell it.
He then takes his head and pulls his head towards his crotch, fam. This is dehumanizing, bro. Would this be okay if this was a woman?
He's right. It smells like.
Does it really?
Like
Does it
what?
really?
Like it smelled like he sprayed it like 2 days ago. But describe the scent.
Describe.
Okay, so 2 days ago he thought he was gonna get lucky and he didn't. That's what it smelled.
No, but describe the scent. Is
Yeah.
it more floral?
By the way.
Yeah.
That's not a stem. Good for you.
I think there's L's all around here, but not for George Janko. I mean, George Janko, I don't think he should have walked out. I would have roasted this man. I would have asked him all the uncomfortable questions about his breakup, about his open relationship. But the L here is for the people on this set, Logan Paul and this guy Mike, for letting this go down to their buddy. That's the L here. And I hate these double standards where if the demographics of the person being treated this way, if he wasn't George Janko isn't white, but for the sake of the conversation, white, cisgendered, Christian male, this would have gone down completely different. I'm shocked that no one caught this. I'm shocked that all of you goobers, specifically you, Jamari, that had all this funny stuff to say about George Janko being soft and a wannabe comedian, didn't watch enough of the interview to see that happened. I think that's an L take on everybody that was at this studio. And I don't even know George. I just think it's whack that everybody tried to roast him for walking out on something where, 45 minutes before that moment, an hour before that moment, arguably, This man was experiencing a assault. Am I tripping? Tell me if I'm out of line. If this was anybody else, if this wasn't a Christian heterosexual male, would this not be considered assault? This man grabbed his head and pulled it towards his crotch, bro. Y'all think this is cool. This is cool. Why? Because it's fun to make fun. It's fun to make fun of Christians. Jamari, you're a cornball for that take, bro. That's an L take on Jamari. And you've had some L takes lately. You went after Jordan Peterson for something stupid. It's an L take on your part, bro. Do better. Think better. Get all the context. Get all the variables. I'm not saying George should have walked out. I think that was corny that he walked out. But your take on this was 2 videos, bro? 2 videos? George may not clap back, but nah, bro. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to make fun of the Christian because he's low-hanging fruit. And you're a cornball for missing that. And do you co-sign that? L take on your part, Jamari. L take. Bobby Lee is a goober, bro. I don't think he's as funny as you think he is. Okay? And this weirdo rub my back and see how soft my skin is. And come on, bro. George Janko apologized because he had to apologize. I mean, that's one of the things where you relinquish control in these type of environments. You signed up for it, so you're rocking out with it. I don't think he would have handled. I mean, if I was in a situation like that, I wouldn't have ran with that, you know. But when you're in a situation like that, your body tenses up, and you don't really know what to do. It's fight or flight, you know. And so yeah, I think all this stuff is from a place of insecurity on Bobby Lee's part. I think Logan is Logan Paul is a goober for letting his homie get treated this way. Mike is like, I don't know, man. Terry Crews cried when someone touched him. George didn't have to stay in that room with an abuser. That's a W take. George should also have a backbone and not allow guests to disgrace him on a 2+ million podcast. 100%. And that's an insecurity inside of George that he has to work through. Whatever's going on inside of George, and it's probably difficult, man. Like, that dude is trying to figure it out. He's on one of the biggest podcasts in the world. I'm not saying it's easy. He's trying to figure out. But yes, he absolutely needs a backbone and needs to be better in these situations. And like, bro, like, just because you're a Christian or just because you're on, like, you don't let like people treat you this way. We gonna make this a meme and we gonna make this funny? Nah, bro. Nah. Jamari, you out of pocket for that, bro. Hey, this clip is from our daily after party stream. If you enjoyed it, consider signing up for our Patreon community for only $5 a month, where you get access to the replays of our daily after party streams, as well as the uncut extended versions of our podcast, Discord access that's private, and a discount code for our merch store, only $5 a month. And ultimately, it's the best way to help us contextualize the gospel of Jesus using media, podcasting, and of course, YouTube. The link for that is in the description or in the pinned comment. Now, if you're like, meh, I don't want to sign up for $5 a month. I don't need another recurring subscription. Listen, I get it. You could also make a donation using PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. But we really want to get you on Patreon. I promise you, the perks are amazing. You should get on there. It's only $5 a month. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.
And it said that Simeon blessed God.